Welcome to this episode on All Things LOCS, where we get into everything related to leadership, operation, culture, and strategy. I'm Antonio Garcia. I'm with my co-host and partner, Dr. Neissany, and today we have a treat for you with Brett Bowman. I am fired up because you were actually voted as a top business coach by Apple News. You're considered to be a peak performance coach. So lucky to have you. Where we met was a little while ago, where I fell into this like somatic breathwork retreat with you. Yeah. And I was like, who's this like super chiseled model guy? I was like, what a loser. And then later on, you ran us through this, and it was such a game changer and life changing for me. Really, really awesome. So I'm excited to dive into that, but tell us a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, my friend. That was a good experience, right? We had ourselves
I was in
immersed.
a ball, like
headsets fully in, like everybody was tight.
You can do it. You're perfect. Exactly. I'm like, yes, Brett, yes.
So my story is a long one where I started, but I'll just say, I've been very blessed.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing this 25 years professionally, and my whole life's really led me here. It's like I was listening to Joel Osteen this morning, and he was doing a great sermon. It was talking about, so many times in the dark times, the challenging times, how we give up. And I talk about this all the time with my clients. Like with peak performance, it's about finding your sweet spot, finding your formula for success,
right.
fulfillment, your balance. But so many times we look at things when they aren't going our way as challenges like, oh, I'm on the wrong path. This is not where I'm supposed to be. And I can look back and see everything in my life now, the ups and downs, the divorces, the good relationships, the businesses that failed, all brought me here.
Yeah.
And so, my passion for a long time has always been helping other people find what their peak is. What's the ideal you? How do I help you get to where each day you wake up and excited and inspired about your life, you accomplish and make progress throughout the day, and you can go to bed saying you lived a day well, that you're fulfilled.
When you work with people, and what do you think holds them back from finding their ideal self?
Many things, but the simple way to put it is two things: discipline. Because so many people will come to me and we'll find the answer, we'll have the keys, we'll have the process, and people just don't stick with it.
They just don't do it, huh?
No, it's so hard. You give somebody their dream, their answer, and 2 days later they haven't done it once. The other thing is just lack of belief in ourselves, and that comes from a lot of things. It's a lot environmental, has to do with your upbringing, your education, your resources, what was poured into you as a child. Did somebody speak to you and give you blessings and hope and inspiration? And so it's really just a lack of confidence in your ability to go. So I would say belief is the most powerful force in the universe, whether it's working for you or against you.
How many people simply don't know what their ideal you looks like? Or it's like, all right, what's the ideal version of you? Like, I have no
All
clue.
of them.
Yeah, everybody.
Honestly, and most people that come, and I mean this respectfully, it's because the good thing is it's all opportunistic, right? It's not a negative. It's saying, like, you're already doing this well, you're already here, and you still don't really have an idea where you're going. Imagine when we figure that out, where you're going to go. And so the thing is, most people come in and they tend to have an external viewpoint of who they are, not an internal viewpoint. So I am who I'm supposed to be because I'm selling a bunch of homes and real estate and I'm making X amount of money, or I've won a certain amount of awards, but then they'll tell me I'm completely unfulfilled. I hate my life. So most people aren't on a path of fulfillment. They're on a path of success and milestones, like checking box. I made $1 million. I did this thing. I won this award. But the funny thing is, they're doing that because that's what other people say is success. It's not really what they want or need.
What is it that they typically are really looking for? Because I feel like that's also a discussion of success versus fulfillment, but then happiness versus fulfillment, which are two different things. So what do you kind of guide people on, like, what it is, number one, and then how to actually find it?
Yeah, great question. So I do believe that there are, from doing this so long and seeing it so many times, you start to pick up the patterns, right? Like, no matter how much you love somebody, know someone, child, friend, whatever, you can't stop them from having a heartbreak. It's going to happen. You can tell somebody anything you want, it's going to happen. Everybody's going to get fired. Everybody's going to have, all these things happen to us.
Right.
So understanding the seasons of life. When you're younger, the seasons are to drive and accomplish things. It is to grow, to learn, to experience, which builds your toolbox. But once you get past that period of accumulating the things you need, the resources, then it's about impact. Because I will have people come to me that are making, $20, $30, $40 million a year, running huge companies. They have everything you could ever imagine materialistically. Anything you'd put down on a dream list, a bucket list, they have. And they're like, I'm completely unhappy. Don't enjoy my life. Don't want it. Don't want to do anymore. It's funny, though. The first thing I ask them is, so what would make this relationship successful? How will you know things are going well?
Yeah.
What's your markers for success? And they're like, oh, well, I want to 2x my company. I want to have another 10 million in the bank. So
they just go right back to
I'm like, okay, great. So we leave it. I don't push against it because we got to have time to get them there. But within 6 to 8 weeks, easy,
Mhm.
they're like, oh my God, Brett, the money doesn't matter anymore. It's impact. I
Mhm.
want to make an impact on my family. I want to be a better father. I want to make an impact on my business. I want to change the lives of people who work for me. I want to be better for the service, the product we're putting out to change the world. And for me, where I am in my career, I'm lucky at this point where I only pick and choose who I want to work with. And I will work
Mhm.
with only people that either have a product or service that is making a direct impact, doing something that's clear, or they're using that as the fuel to go do something like that, build nonprofits, give back to the world, do charities. And so it is the impact. And once you start making just a little impact, how it changes your experience of life, because you feel like now I have a purpose. There's something more to me when I'm giving back. We all know that the
Yeah.
gift is in the giving, right? Once you start doing it as a career and you're taking whatever you've been doing or you've learned how to modify what you're doing to do that, it's a game changer. You just get a whole new tank of fuel that didn't exist before. Because most of us are running out of fuel, right?
Oh, definitely.
How many people do you encounter that they're like, well, I need to make the $20 million so I can start making the impact and start
Yeah.
giving, right? Like, so how do you kind of flip that around on people like, I need to do this because versus maybe start it sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I have a great saying. I always say there's no there. And so I'll ask them, I'll say, okay, so when you get there, you'll do what? Tell me what it's like when you get there. They'll start to build that picture. I'm like, okay, well, let's kind of, we got that plan now. Let's go back and kind of review in the past. Have you been using the same methodology, same kind of psychology? I'm like, what'd you tell yourself a long time ago you were going to do when you got there? And how'd that go? They start to realize like, oh yeah, I keep telling myself happiness is out here, success is out here, the decision's out here. But it never works that way. And it's I have a lot of faith. I'm a very spiritual person. I believe that it's just like God. It says like, pray to God, you give thanks for what you have and you get more. Say, hey, when you show up, I'll start believing. And it doesn't matter whether it's spiritual, energetic, psychological. That's just how it works. You got to earn it. And when you do, things start to shift.
You mentioned, and those examples are primarily like business owners, they're entrepreneurs. Do you find that that's the bulk of the people where they are just achieving their way through life, where they hit a wall essentially where they're like, I need to seek counsel or guidance elsewhere because it's just not fun anymore. It's not as fulfilling anymore. And would you say like that's the bulk of the people that you work with?
Yeah, they come to me typically in one of two places. Either I'm stuck. I don't know where to go from here. Like I just can't figure things out. I keep trying and it's not working. Just unfulfillment, and they start. The more that happens, and the bigger the problem that happened, or the bigger thing that hit them, the more they start to lose faith in themselves. So the trying gets harder. The other way they come to me is, this is a smaller amount of people, but people who have actually done really well and no longer have any mentorship or guidance. I always think this one guy that came to me a couple years ago, he was brilliant. He's the top people in the world for developing IT. He was like working from like, this guy's just a genius. And he was like, I don't have it. No one lays the path for me. He's like, where am I going? He's like, no one's challenging me, hold me accountable. I don't know what's next. He's like, I got myself all here. I'm at the top, like Elon Musk. Who's going up to Musk and sitting down saying, dude, it's like, what's going to tell him what the next vision is? And so people will come to me and say like, I need somebody to help me be creative and be innovative and figure out where's it going. But it always goes back to the impact. It's funny, I would say that, not to generalize, but I'm going to say 9 out of 10 times, people come in and it's so financially driven. I make X amount of money and I got to keep my lifestyle here. I want to grow, but I need to make this. Or what's the next part of the corporate ladder? And then once they shift, they realize like, oh my God, it really just isn't that. That comes.
What would you say like with that you have like an entrepreneur that's kind of early in their career, they're just getting into it. What are some things that you wish you could instill in them now so they're not running into that 5, 10, 20, 30 years down the road?
Yeah, great question. Well, a couple things. The first thing I tell people is you need to readjust and redefine your understanding of success. Because number one, it's usually external and you're mapping it from someone else. I saw this person do this, or I've read something and seen something out there that I have now created an assumption of that's what success is. It's really nothing tangible. You've created a vision in your mind. And so I'm like, true success is about 90% failure and then a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And so
true.
Yeah, people think like, and so that's number one. Number two is people don't make a plan. They want to do everything. I'm like, what's your plan? They have no plan. I'm like, so you have to have a plan for everything. But part of the plan and part of success formula is understanding there's a lot of failure. So people will finally come up with a plan, and then the minute something doesn't go right, the first step that doesn't go the way they want, they're like, I'm out of here. I'm going to quit. I'm jumping. I failed. I'm a failure. I'm cursed. And say, no, that's the first step of success. It's how you keep showing up and getting back up and going through it. Because the thing is, you know, the things you truly want to do, you're not ready to do yet. They are dreams and aspirations. That's what we have to understand, is you're not ready to do the things you want to do yet. That's why they come to your mind first. If you're ready, you'd already be doing it. But you're like, oh, I want to do this. I want to build an orphanage in Africa. I want to build this thing. I'm going to write a book. So that means the dream is started. That's the seed.
Yeah.
In order for the seed to grow, you have to water it and nourish it and give it sunlight. So those things are all the trials and tribulations, the storms that come through, the dry times that, you know, it's like, that's all of it building that seed. And so when you hold on to that, you get there and you go, oh yeah, that was shaping me and preparing me and making me better.
There's a lot of kind of in between the lines, a lot of mental toughness and resiliency that's needed. That for the first sign when someone gets hit with that, they curl up in a little ball and shell. And it's actually the people that can persevere through that and continue to get up and ride are the ones that are experiencing more success. They just muscle through that. And
you find the crazy thing is, you know, something, this has happened to me in the past 10 years, and it's really evolved in the past 5 years for me, but was cultivating peace and surrendering. Because what we hear a lot from everybody, like we were talking about this before we started, grind culture, hustle culture. You know, everybody's in this go, 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 push, 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 got to do more. And when it's the energy around you, like vibration, and it's the tone and what's accepted, then you believe it. It seems like it's normal. I should be getting up. I'm not at 6 a.m. getting up and doing a daily routine. Then I'm off already. I'm not making this. I'm not there already. Right.
I was just going to go there because it seems like what you said to folks of what I wish they would have at the beginning of their career is like, just really appreciate maybe your version of success or readjust what success could look like for you. And when someone first gets started and they're in this kind of acquisition period of like, I need to learn different things to be successful. And then where do they obviously turn to? Be a lot of social media, a lot of, mainstream media where like, this is success. This is how you do it. You need to be alpha. You need to have this car. You need to make this much money. You need to do this. And then later on, it's about almost untangling. And is that kind of what you experienced too?
Yeah. Unraveling and then redo, like, oh, I started down a path that isn't really even the path. There's always, everything is supposed to happen and you're learning it. But the thing is, sometimes it's how you experience it. Are you seeing this as a resource? Are you growing from this? Or are you fighting it and resisting it? Because everything is a lesson and everything really is working for you. When the door closes, the faster you can surrender and go, oh, well, that probably wasn't supposed to be there. Let me understand why that happened. Maybe I wasn't prepared in some way. Maybe they weren't prepared. Then all of a sudden, your traction digs and you go, ooh, I got a little momentum.
Right.
I didn't spend weeks or months upset. I didn't throw everything away. You're kind of like, huh. And then all of a sudden you get more inspiration, more creativity, right?
Are you, have you heard of My Human Design? Okay, cool. So I'm going to kind of go in that direction real quick. So one thing you said, cultivating peace and surrendering. And I remember I would try to muscle through a lot of advice on like how to be successful. And it never really resonated with me.
Right.
And it wasn't until like I started to find that. And then for me, part of my profile was actually peace. And it was very, very true that for whatever reason, I got a referral that someone said something that led me to meeting you. And then I started reading about somatic breath work and I remember every single thing that had the biggest ROI for me, not just investment wise, but relationships, being connected with myself, was when I actually felt that peace. I wasn't trying to push through my intuition, but it was allowing it to happen. And I felt like leaning into that spiritual place led to me, way more success in my life.
Yeah, you know, I think a big part of it too, and you hear this word a lot, it's become a buzzword, but it really is extremely important, is being intentional. Intentionality, because, you know, there's periods of time in my life where I have, and I think there's periods of time in everyone's life where you should work hard and hustle. But that's with the intention of like, I want to get as many resources as I can right now. I'm going to dive in. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to take this class. I'm going to study this book. I'm going to stay up late. And you do it, but you have a passion to learn. Like, I'm gaining all of this knowledge versus doing it because you think it's what you have to do and stressing and not enjoying it, not knowing why you're there and fighting it and doubting it, right? So when you came there and you did this, your intention was making a healthier shift in your life. This isn't working. How do I get rid of the stress? How do I find some fulfillment? So the intention was behind it, so you were able to open and receive. But really, you know, I used to be the guy, like I was a grinder. I mean, like I'd do like 80 things at once, man. I was like running 5 or 6 companies, coaching people, writing books. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, I remember saying to myself, can I keep up this pace? I don't want to keep up this pace. And I was the guy that's coaching people to keep up the pace,
Yeah.
you know? And so,
Keep at it, Frank. And you're like,
exactly.
dude, I need to get up out of here.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly, right? I'm the guy out blowing the horn on the, on the floor. Let's go, guys. Hit the phones. But I realized that now it's amazing. Once you really, and this is what I try to show people with breath work and all this somatic work and everything we do in meditation, you can choose your vibration, which you should learn because everybody has their own vibe. We say that like, oh, the frequency, good vibes. It's the truth. It's where you resonate. Like right now, if we had a heavy metal band in here screaming and screeching and yelling, wouldn't be the vibe for the room, right? It's pretty easy to understand. If you had meditation music, though, playing and something relaxing over to us in the background, like, oh, that's kind of keeping us right here in this pocket.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in life. People, opportunities, choices, environments, internal decisions. And so when you find that peace and you get into that rhythm, then you go, oh, man, I don't have to get out of it. Like I used to be in this and then I go to the gym, then get pumped up and be crazy at the gym.
Yeah.
And then I realized like, I don't need to do that at the gym. I go to the gym and listen to meditation music and audiobooks, and I'm lifting more weight and building more than I ever was because I'm in this Zen state where I need to be.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's funny, like I have this aura ring and it goes off and it's like, you haven't hit any stress markers this week. Like heart rate hasn't
You're like,
moved.
yes.
It hasn't moved this. I'm like, yeah, why did it need to? Unless a problem comes up. But most of us never experience that level of peace. We're constantly in some friction.
So how can people find the balance, right? Because there is that mentality of like working hard. There's a difference between working hard and just grinding. And I find that people they don't know how to like separate the two, right? Or like they dial it back a little bit and now they kind of feel like, am I being like a lazy sack of shit, essentially? It's like, so how do you, I mean, it's right. It's like, I got free time now. It's like, I shouldn't have free time, should I? So how do you kind of coach people on how to actually adjust to maybe their new norm? Because it's very uncomfortable.
Right.
Making that adjustment initially, which is like, all right, so how do you actually do that in a way that's really feels productive and, like you said, like being almost at peace with finding some peace?
Right. Well, so it's a big one, but I'll kind of bring it down to a nutshell. So the first thing is I help people discover their passions. It's the first thing we do when we work together, because I'm great at what I do, but it's because I don't pretend like I have all the answers. You have the answers for you inside of you. You just don't know how to find them. You got to unlock them or listen to them. So I help people uncover what these passions are, these unconscious drivers. It's so important because then they become the lens at which you approach everything and look at everything. So when you're making a decision, I'm taking a day off. Is it because it checks a box in those passions? Like, oh, I need more balance in my life. So this day off is off because I never take a day off. Oh, I'm doing this thing because I can see it as intentional and I can see the balance between it. So it takes a little time to calibrate. But that's the first thing you do. And then it's understanding that are the things you're doing, are the feelings you're having because it's out of fear and anxiety all the time, or is it because you're driving yourself for growth and inspiration and fulfillment? And you're going to find most of the time when anybody has any resistance, like, I don't want to take the day off, I'm judging the day, I got to do more, I should. That's all fear, it's all anxiety, right? And so I get people into a practice we do a daily routine we develop. So people wake up and step into this higher self each day. It's a process of meditation and breath work and prayer and affirmations, things that just get you in the zone, taking time for you first. Then throughout the day, checking in. I have people do systematic breaks every 3 hours. Doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, you stop. If you're in the middle of something, you can just make my thing went off, stop, like take a moment, and you check in. It's attention. Why am I here? Am I on the path I'm supposed to be on? Like I determined today I wanted to be this person doing this thing for this reason. Are you still doing it or did you get pulled off? Because it's proven every hour and a half to 2, our body starts to decrease. We go down 30, 40, 50% focus and energy and all that. You do this, you go right back up. It's a total reset constantly. So by doing that, what happens is it's hard to tell somebody an idea and then just say, now go out in the world and see how it goes. But if you have somebody there that keeps saying, hey, check in again. Are you okay? You got it? You're good. Let's go for a little bit. Hey, how are you? You still good? Okay, awesome. You're doing great. And you keep kind of giving yourself that comfort. You take away the discomfort and you turn it into stretching, right? It becomes something where you're flexing into it. So quickly people start to go, oh, wow. I mean, it takes less than a week. Somebody, when we're doing what I'm talking about, and they go, I don't feel anxious anymore. It's totally shifted because you just need enough time for the body to reset, to turn off, the fight or flight. And then you also start to get results like, oh, wow, I didn't do it all yesterday. That was a better day. And then the problems that happened a week ago happen. You go, I didn't blow up today. That's crazy. And a couple times you do it, and your body, your unconscious mind's always looking for ways to improve, right? It has a blueprint of perfect health. And so when something works, it'll grab onto it. That's why, unfortunately, drugs and certain things work because they work fast, right? The big dopamine dump. But when you find a healthy way that's simple and you go, oh my God, that was pretty incredible. So I just am helping people constantly, just little reminders at first, because, it took a long time for the water to go through the Grand Canyon and make that.
Yep.
You've spent 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years running these patterns, these fears, these thoughts in your mind. You've grooved in neural pathways. And we got to build new ones and start channeling the water and the thoughts through those. And the more they become frequent and consistent, the more you find that that's actually your path.
What's a normal reset that you coach somebody? Because I know it's not this, right? It's like, this is what everybody's reset is. Like, all right, cool, let me take a break and go on like Twitter or something like that. So if you're like, all right, I want you to take 5-10 minutes, like, what are they doing in that time period that actually sets them up to win the rest of the day?
Yeah, great question. So I have a process that I tell people, you do this whether, a lot of people use it when they're having challenges because that comes up a lot, but the other is also to check in or keep you inspired. I have a little technique called take 5 and come back better. So we do that every 3 hours. You stop, take a break, step outside, and what you do is you got to leave the environment first. You always have to shift environment. A lot of people are sitting in your office all day and you stop. What are you going to do? You're going to stay in that anxious energy. You are going to go to computers, phones. So I'm like, no, step away, get outside, go take a walk, just any new location. And you sit down for a minute and you just check in with yourself. I always say, number one, how am I thinking? What am I thinking about? Oh, it's anxious, it's busy, it's been noisy. How am I feeling? Feeling okay, a little low energy. How am I breathing? And again, you're just witnessing these. You're not judging them at all. So you witness, then you do 2-3 minutes of breath work. Just take them through a couple simple things. 4-2-6 breathing is the easiest one. 4 inhale through the nose, hold at the top for 2, and exhale at the mouth for 6. So, and you do even 3 rounds of that for most people because they haven't been in that frequency, and they're like, oh my God, I feel completely different. Then you meditate, which is just turning off the mind and just being present. A lot of people have problems with meditation, so I tell them in these moments to don't try to make it something that you're trying to do, but rather something you're receiving. So I'm like, so do the breath work so you feel calm. If you're angry, like sometimes they do this, you step outside because you're angry and you're about to fight with somebody. It's like, hey, you know what? I don't want to fight with you. Let me step outside and clear my head. You go and do this, you come back, go, okay, I didn't blow up. But once you get rid of that feeling of the anxiousness, the anger, whatever, and you're sitting there, you're like, I feel pretty clear. So then it's like, then I want your meditation to just be a gratitude meditation. Look around and look how beautiful things are. What I do is try to pick out colors and things. Like, look at how beautiful the trees are and the different plants, because it takes you out of, again, overthinking. You just become settled, and then you check back in. Now, how am I thinking, feeling, breathing? And it's so quick. This process adapts you so quickly. And then the funny thing is, we think it needs to be something so complex,
mystical.
No, it's not what it is. It's the discipline. It's sticking with the simple things. Then you can take on the big things, but the solution's never the big, crazy, heavy lifting. It's that you're not doing the little simple things you need to do. Rest well, eat good food, drink good water. It's simplicity.
Yeah. It's like, when do I go on my first retreat? It's like, you just started yesterday. What are we talking about? It's like, let's baby steps first.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to that a little bit, where when people are meditating or they're out and they're trying to check back in, I find that sometimes, and I'll just kind of more speak for myself, is that I have to be in grind mode. I need to be productive today. Taking a day off is a day wasted, so on and so forth. Where I felt like, after kind of peeling back the onion a little bit, that I felt like it was a self-image thing where I didn't deserve the day off. I didn't do enough to deserve it. So even when I was in it, trying to do it, I felt weird because I didn't feel like I was worthy of taking time off. I needed to continue. I'm sure you've run into that. I've run into that. Yes. So what kind of conversations, like when you hear that with someone, where do you kind of take them? Because that's a bit of a self-image thing.
So when you have that come up, I'm going to guess, tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm kind of picking up that what it's coming from is you have these expectations of yourself that you've gotten nowhere close to accomplishing. So you're like, I need to take off. I'm exhausted. My body's telling me I'm going to crash. You're like, but I haven't sold 5 deals this week. I haven't made $30,000. I'm not and there's that whole list of things you haven't accomplished yet, right? So taking a day off, how can I do that when I have accomplished nothing? I'm not good enough. Yeah.
So I definitely think it was that. And I also felt like even when I do accomplish what I set out, I was like, oh man, I should have done more, or I could do more, or I should, right? So it was that constant weave of either 3 things happen. You fall short, you hit it, and when you hit it, either you're fine, or I could have maybe squeezed another thing in there or something else.
You finally got where you should have been before.
Yeah.
So it's now keep it going because you're lazy.
Yeah.
Or like, that was too small. Like, why wasn't it bigger?
You're such a bum. You could have done better. So when you said like, there's no there, and then how that go, like, it was funny enough. Like, that was actually the reverse engineering of like, you know what? I think like, I just don't believe I deserve that. Yeah. It's like, I'm not worthy of doing that. And it's like, no, you kind of need to. I was actually working with Dan too, as well, where he's definitely helped me. Like, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. here's the other thing I'd say. So number one, I help people recognize where they're coming from with that, right?
Yep.
It's usually unrealized expectations or too big of expectations. Lack of gratitude. I'll tell you, gratitude is number one, man. You learn to be grateful and everything else falls away. Just become really good at gratitude and our conversation's over.
I'd say that was mine. Like 99% of it would have been, I'm thinking, and I'm like, I don't think I'm as grateful as I tell other people they need to be.
Yeah.
Like I'll say that, yeah, and then
it's
I'm
easy.
like,
it's
so
it's
ungrateful.
easy to know your life and it becomes so commonplace.
Yep.
Have your house burned down, lose your car, lose your job, lose everything, lose all your
No.
family members, and all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I feel different about yesterday.
Yep.
That was totally different. So number one is changing perspective and getting gratitude.
Mhm.
The second thing, as I tell people, so let's just say, you're telling me this is what's going on. I feel stressed, not good enough. I don't feel like I have clarity in the future. I'm unfulfilled, frustrated. So if those are the ingredients and you made a salad, how would that salad taste? Pretty horrible, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what you created it with. So you made that salad. So if you want a different salad, if you want a different life, you got to inject it with other things. And when people tell me, I hear all the time, it's not enough. I'm not happy. Got to work more. Isn't this not successful? Don't. And it's all. I'm like, that is how you're thinking. That is what you're putting into the world. Again, whether it's metaphysical, spiritual, biological, it doesn't matter what it is. You're creating with this. So what you got to do is you got to start creating differently. Problem happens. Thank you for the problem. I understand that there's probably a silver lining in there and I need to grow somewhere. I'm grateful for where I am now. Focus on what you can control, what you're good at, what you want to do. Hone a skill. So when I feel my worst, I do two things. Number one, when I'm down and out, I pick up the phone and I help someone else. Best thing you can do is give back. It puts me in my highest self.
Right.
God goes to work when I'm at rest. God rests when I'm at work, right? So I go help someone else. That's number one. The other thing is I go learn a new skill or I enhance a skill that I'm doing because, again, I make myself better. So in the times, most of us, what happens is that something negative happens, we instantly start chipping ourselves down. We chip ourselves away. And you lose time, you lose days. And you don't want to lose time because it is precious what we have, but most importantly is the effect it has on your health. When you're constantly beating yourself up and changing your self-image and basically determining the lens you'll see the world through and the box you can play in. So I'm always working the opposite direction. I feel bad. What can I do to change the world right now? How can I be better?
There's a lot of science behind that. I think like sometimes when people are listening or when they are introduced to this information of like, being intentional, vibration, frequency, the metaphysical side of things. But there's actually a lot of science behind it, isn't there?
Yeah.
A lot of stats behind that, right?
Yep. That's funny. We were talking about this earlier. The thing is, there has been so much science done. This is probably the most, our health. It's like one of the most researched and studied things in the world constantly.
Yep.
I was just looking at this earlier today, like taking the breaks. People are like, oh, is it good to do them? Like, it is proven. They did a study at Harvard University that, every 2 hours we lose about 40-60% of our energy and our focus go down. But when you do these breaks, you go back up 40-60%. And as you keep doing, you keep it steady throughout the day. It's like a reset. So you start as the day started over, not from where you are. That's proven. That's 40-60% increase every 3 hours if you just stop and check in for a minute. That's incredible.
Yeah.
When we talk about being intentional, same thing again. They've done studies. There's a study of U of I, one at Harvard, one at Stanford, where they took a bunch of people and had them focus on working on something without an intention, and then had them focus with the intention. And the results, everybody achieved their goals, and even the people that didn't achieve were fulfilled by what they did, whereas the people over here that achieved had no fulfillment because they didn't have a purpose for doing it. And that's what most of us do is we don't realize there's no purpose sometimes, and sometimes the purpose is somebody else's. I'm doing it because this person told me to, or because I'm trying to be like my cousin or my friend or whatever. And so the science is incredible. I mean, like every single study there is in the world has proven that and again, it doesn't have to be hiring a coach or a therapist, but having someone you can turn to that mentors and holds you accountable. That's the key. It can be a parent, it can be a friend, it can be a boss. Doesn't matter, but having someone you go to that says, are you at your best? Let's check in. What could you be doing? How are you challenging yourself? You will see an absolute increase in performance from 50 to 80% on everything you do, from your health to your goals. And so every stat backs it up.
Yeah.
It's proven science.
So there's two things I really like that. Number one is and we work with people in healthcare, right? And they're very science geared. But one of my biggest frustrations, what you just said, is they don't pay attention to the data that's actually there to help them, right? It's like, oh, what exercise can I do? Or the approach, it's like you're all trying to be more productive and reduce your burnout, but then you don't pay attention to the stats that show how to actually help potentially avoid that. But then you also mentioned something which is what I really like is not just like the check-in from ourselves, right? But also if you're in like a leadership position, it's like, how can you also help your team by maybe checking in with them, right? It's like, all right, I'm doing good. I'm checking in myself. How about the rest of the team? How are they doing? You know, so I do find that that's very important. Now, you mentioned something like earlier that I kind of want to actually go back to, because I find that's very important, is the beliefs that we have, right? But the challenge that I see too a lot is business owners who are very successful. And it's like, what beliefs do they typically have that could make them even, you know, it's like, I've done this for 10 years. I'm making $10 million a year. Like, I'm fine. What do you typically see as some of the stuff that holds them back? And then how do you actually help them get a breakthrough to not just, it's like I said, it's not about just the money, but like how to find more peace, more gratitude, and potentially actually help them elevate their business if that is something that they want to do?
Yeah. Well, it kind of repeats what we were saying earlier. The biggest challenge is, you know, we tend to, when we're unfulfilled, we're tending to live externally, meaning we're trying to meet somebody else's vision of success.
Yep.
Or these expectations we put on ourselves of what, when I get there, then I'll be worthy, or I'll be valued, or I'll be good at what I do, right? And so most people tend in those situations to be unhealthy and very unfulfilled. They're unhealthy because they've, again, if you're working hard, you got a business, you got like, you know, I have some companies I work with, guys, they got like 7,000 employees. They got locations all over the world and stuff like that. And no matter the amount of money they're making, which is a large amount of money, they're like, it's not enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not helping enough. There's never enough. So you get into this kind of like this culture, and you get into this this habit, this routine of going fast and going faster and going faster, and meaning more and more and more. So they just keep perpetuating it. So what I kind of share with them is like, look, number one, they crash. They typically crash. Most of them, when they come to me, are at a point where they say either a doctor said, hey, you just had an episode of something and you have to stop and see someone now, or they're like, I can't go on. I'm at a point where I can't do it anymore. I can't show up at the office anymore. I cannot do this. I'm so unhappy. It's funny because I'll ask people sometimes, like, they'll literally say to me, if this doesn't work with you, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then we'll start doing the work. We'll start like giving the solutions, give them things, and they don't use them at the beginning. I'm like, you just told me you were ready to give up on life if something didn't change, and we gave you tools, and you haven't started using them.
It's incredible what people will do to stay in a place that's familiar.
Fight for their you know, limitations.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it's hard to break something that has been so, they don't realize they've mastered. And that's what I tell them too, is like, let's move things across and change it, because we look at it so linear. You are a master at following through with a plan. You're a master at doing what you're doing. Look at the high level you've accomplished at. So let's just give you a different task. Let's give you a different plan. But they don't realize that you have to change things. You can't keep doing the same thing you were doing. You have to use the behaviors of drive and discipline and confidence and whatever, organization or management, and put them over here, but change what they are. And once you realize that, you know, first of all, true happiness comes in fulfillment. It comes in like balance. It comes in peace. When you have that, you experience. That's why they say, I think that's like $77,000. They say is like the ideal number. When people about right at that pocket, when you're making that amount of money, people tend to feel, they say if somebody above that, hundreds of thousands, $1 million more, don't really feel more peace or fulfillment than somebody at 77,000, because you start to take on so much more obligation, responsibility, and belief that you have to X, that it goes away. And I help people turn that on their head. I'm like, the problem is that the more you go up in it, the more responsibilities, the less you have time for your life. And it's got to come back again. Impact, gratitude, balance, fulfillment, right? So it's taking people through a process of unlearning themselves. Like Joe Dispenza, that, you know, that book of Becoming You. It's like unbecoming you. You've got to unravel everything.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I want to pivot a little bit, because just making an observation, there's a lot of, and things that we're asking you, there's a clear process for you. Like, this is how we discover passion. This is how we discover fulfillment. This is how can I extract what success is to you. It's wild how many other coaches, kind of peak performance coaches, where it's like they don't have any of that stuff. It's very vague. It's ubiquitous. It's like foggy almost. So like in most industries, and sometimes in that one, there's a little bit of there's some snake oil where it's like they're just really good sales guys, but they don't really have the materials to help you. How does one identify that when they want to start going down that path? Because there's definitely a lot of business owners have been burned by, like, you know what I mean? Like by other coaches, where it's just, it got them nowhere because they didn't know how to vet a coach or identify a strong one. What do you say to someone like that that's maybe gone through that? Maybe they hired coaches for their business, hired coaches for themselves as an entrepreneur, and they've been burned by others because they were just, that snake oil I'm talking about.
I just had a long conversation this weekend with a good buddy of mine about that. He's going through something, and he reached out to me and said, hey, I want to ask you to help, but we're friends. I didn't know if it'd be strange. I was looking at some other people. Can you tell me what should I do? Which direction? What should I look at? I always joke and say this. I always say, 50% of the coaches and therapists out there have good intentions and don't have the skills. And the other 50% have the skills and don't have the good intentions. Yeah. But here's the first thing I tell people to do is, there's a process of going through this. Number one, you got to talk to the person and make sure you have a good relationship with them. Are they listening to you? Do you feel like they actually heard you? Because it's very easy to cheerlead people and make them feel pumped up. I always tell people, like, man, I could pump up 20 million people in a stadium and make you feel incredible. Next January, what are you going to do with that? That's great that you can cheerlead me, made me excited, but are you listening to me? Do I feel like you're hearing me and understanding me? The next thing is it's got to be action oriented. It's got to be results driven. Most people get in and they want to talk about stuff. Where most people are when they start seeking help, right? That's like what it's personal development, personal growth is. They have a moment of awareness. I have a problem. I do need help. I'm not where I want to be. And so just being able to voice it is powerful. That's taking ownership, right? But then we reach out to somebody and we think, oh, now that I can talk about it to somebody and they're listening, I'm doing the work I need to do. And you're not. You're still standing in the doorway. You're still doing the same thing. Somebody listening is great. Listen, because it keeps it from eating you up inside.
Bottled up. Yeah.
But that's therapy. That's not coaching. That's not growth. That's therapy. That's I feel better because I released this, right? Like I always say, yoga is incredible. I love yoga. I'm a yoga addict. But I go to yoga and I do an amazing yoga session. I get burned out in there. I'm like, oh my God, that was incredible. I go home and I feel good for a little while. And the next day I go on. I'm not like carrying yoga with me every day. It's something I go to and it helps me feel better in alignment. And then I go back to my life. That's what therapy is like. When you go in, it's like, I need to get that off my chest. Thank you for listening. I feel better. I'll go back to my life. But there's no action plan. You have to have an action plan. Okay, if this is what you're feeling right now, here's what I'm going to have you do. Every single day you're going to do this, and this is how you're going to measure it, and this is how I'm going to hold you accountable, and here's what I want to see. With that action plan and with expected results, not an expectation of what they will be, but there are expected results. You should have results we can look at. That's how you find somebody that's good for you. And then you need to go to, like, I always ask for 3 to 5 people that are just like me that you've worked with, and I want to talk to them. Because if you say, oh, I can help you build X business, then introduce me to 2 or 3 people you did that with. Let me talk to them. Let me talk about the protocols, the routines, the disciplines. The number one thing is discipline. I say this all the time, but it is like people say, if you were to tell people, gratitude and discipline, if you're grateful about something, you'll change your mood and your attitude and your approach to it. And if you're disciplined, you can do anything. Because it's a pattern, a time of learning and committing to that path.
How do you measure success for, you're talking about obviously industry. For you, how do you measure success, right? Like business owner is very easy. Like I got my KPIs and can see return on investment, this and that. Like for you, what's like that return on investment, so to speak, when you're working with somebody?
Great. My personal or me seeing them?
Yeah, for you.
For me, it's a couple things. Number one, I find out from the person what they want to accomplish at the beginning. Try to find out that that's really what they want to accomplish, because sometimes, again, they give me goals that,
change
the person, them, they're showing up as the person they don't want to be, and that's the person giving the goals.
Yeah.
So
I
check back in those. I'm like this, I always joke and say, like, are you the version right now of yourself that you would hire to do this job, or no? And they're like, oh, no way. I'm like, okay, then let's not have the person making the plan. But I do find out, so we have benchmarks. So number one is like, what do you want to see out of this? Make sure we hit those. Then what I would do is I want to make sure they make an impact. It's got to be an impact. And everybody makes an impact in everything they do. Are you impacting your pocketbook? Are you impacting your business? Are you impacting your family? So making sure that I see something to where, in my mind, the measure of impact that's happened, the results that I'm like, okay, that's outstanding or extraordinary compared to where you were. But the final thing is they have to give me confirmation of the fulfillment. So I have my own measuring stick of, I want to see you reach X, Y, Z, because I know you can get there. Then we get there and they hit those KPIs, and then they say to me, oh my God, I've never been happier, never felt better. This is the best I'm doing. So getting back that feedback from them. But to me, unless I hear that from them, I've not accomplished my goal.
And you guys outlined that at the very beginning, right? You get lined. Yeah. So like, I really love that, because it's like almost taking somebody who's like, let's say their relationships with their spouse is at like a 2 out of a 10.
Yep.
But then it's like, all right, I expect when we're done here, I'm going to be at a 10, or like within the next 2 months. Like that's not realistic at all. So it's like, I think it's very important to have those conversations, outline what's expected and what's reasonable in that time frame.
Yeah, and I'll tell you,
It's a
like
big one, yeah.
my simplest thing that it's a mantra I say all the time, and it's a measuring stick for everything is, it's my own personal mantra is I show up as the best version of myself every single day. Now, do I? No, but that's my intention, and I'm aware of where I'm off. So if I wake up today and say that's my goal, like, this is off, that's what I work on for the day. Or that's where I know that I need to focus and sharpen, maybe give a little bit more attention to. So the same thing for them. It's like, it's not about reaching this. It's about you waking up every day and saying, like, I'm always doing the best I can. That's the best I can do. I'm showing up as the best version of myself. And when I'm off path, I know how to get on path. And it's not through frustration. It's through opportunity for growth. Like, oh man, I'm not my best today. Cool. Past couple week, I've been a little bit edgy. I've been a little bit, so I'm going to get better at that every single day. And they do it, and all of a sudden their employees, their family was like, hey, you seem like you're doing so much better. And they're like, oh, that's incredible. I saw it.
Yeah.
That's growth, right? That's a measuring stick. And people get more fulfillment out of that than I just went 2X on my company, because the 2X, what's it mean?
Yeah.
If you don't know where you're using it or what it even means to you, it means nothing.
Yeah.
It's so true. So, and I like that you're doing that. So for those clients, you're setting those expectations at the beginning. And it's forced them to think about those things because you're going to circle back around to it.
Yep.
So you're forcing them that throughout the day, throughout the week, to consider and to contemplate on things that they haven't really contemplated on because they're going to be asked down the road.
Yep.
And so it opens them up to an area of thought that they haven't really exercised in a while.
Yep.
It's really,
and it's
really
easy to, another thing I always talk about is the fact that we move through emotional. I like to make things really simple, right? Emotional.
No, complicated.
Yeah, make it super heavy. So back in 30 BC, but we always have either emotional or objective thinking. And primarily most people are 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% emotional all the time. I always say emotions are a signal. They're helping you. They're a God-given gift that tell you to do something. You're angry. It's like, oh, wait a minute. I shouldn't be angry. Something's going on here. Something's backing into my morals, my ethics. Something's overstepping the bounds. I need to somehow make an adjustment. Doesn't mean be angry and go key someone's car, right? It's an adjustment of something. So objective versus emotional thinking. But because most people are emotional all the time, they're forcing themselves to make decisions they don't really want to make. And so it's about consistently understanding that you've got to let that go and you've got to come back over to objectivity. If there's an emotion there, understand it, process it. It's there to give you information. And then when you process, you go, now I know why I was so frustrated. Now I know why I was so fearful. And then you have the action item to work towards. Oh, I let go of the anger. I need to be a better X or do a better X. That's fantastic. That's a clear opportunity for growth. If you don't take the lesson, it will come back again because you didn't learn it. It's the lesson you need to break through the next level you're trying to go to. So people are always looking for the shortcut. How do I get there without doing the work?
I love what you said there because there is this line of thinking, especially, it's really not just for men, but it's like, don't have emotion, so to speak, or don't, we kind of confuse the two. I think they get lumped together of having emotions versus being emotional, so really being able to acknowledge, all right, what am I feeling? Like you said, but why am I feeling this? How is it maybe helping me or how is it hurting me versus I shouldn't feel anything and I'll just bury them and because it's going to make me do something stupid versus like, no, not acknowledging it is actually probably going to lead to you doing something you shouldn't do.
It's a big culture thing too. So my wife is a Korean and over there when we're talking about emotions versus like the Latin community, like for us, it's night and day, baby, night and day. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm sure there's a lot of things what Dan was saying is that could those also be like cultural that you're needing to work through?
Absolutely. I work with a lot of clients from the Middle East, work with a lot of clients in Asia. And it's different. It's really cool, though, because the people that come to me are the people that are like having a moment of awareness. They're like, I've lived in a place where I'm told this is wrong. I'm starting to realize like, maybe it's not wrong. And I'm bursting through this wanting to understand more, but like nobody's accepted. It's not, you go home and nobody accepts it or does the whole thing. So it's like, I've had people that are addicted to drugs come to me and we help them get off of being addicted to whatever, heroin, cocaine, this, that. And then they go back and live in a house where everybody's a drug dealer and addicted. I'm like, you got to get out of that environment. That's not supporting you. But our world, in the past, it's gotten a lot better in the past, decade for sure. Emotional intelligence is really becoming something people are starting to understand and realize. It's like, again, it's about how is this helping you? How is that emotion there? Why are you having it? Everything happens for you if you embrace it and you take a moment. People just move so fast. Yeah. I say like nobody's ever told me in 25 years I should have gone faster, but you should have slowed down. Take a little more time to make the decision. Should have thought through a little bit more. Maybe not rushed, And so when you slow down, your mind has enough time to go, I can feel why this is happening. I can hear it and I can begin to feel it, and now I can process it. But we don't process a lot, and that's what causes most disease, right? Stress, because you're just constantly re-engaging in that stress in the body, in the mind, and you're beating yourself up and grooving the pathways, turning that into your belief, your methodology. So it's breaking it down.
You're making me think of I had a CEO back in the day. He was always like, I'm the most logical person going, and he was the one throwing shit in the like the meeting room, like the angriest person you ever met. We're just like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But it was simply because of that. It's like he wasn't aware, or like he didn't want to experience, like understand what he was actually feeling, and it just came out as like his primary emotion was anger. I'm like, dude, like you need to like check in. I was like, it's okay, we feel these things. It doesn't make you weak because you're at the top to just acknowledge it. But
No. I think one of the most destructive things that's happened in the past 20 or 30 years, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but it is the fact that it's been easy to become very successful not being the best version of yourself. It's been able to become very successful being a bad person, being a narcissist, being an egomaniac, being a terrible boss. Like if you have all bad behaviors and all of a sudden you start making $5-10 million a year and you're winning all these awards and succeeding, people are like, well, that's validating who I am.
Yes.
Right? We don't realize it's like, there's another way to get there. You're not getting there because of that. You're getting there because of other things, and those things are just costing you.
I want to hit on something real quick. I know you have a background in NLP. Can you just tell people what that is and also how that's helped you? Because it's one of those things where it feels like it's a katana. It's like a sword. It's like it could be used very, very well and with the intention of good, and it's ethical and moral. And then other times it's used in other places where it can be a little weird. Can you kind of break that down a little bit? I definitely want to touch on that before.
Yeah, for sure. So NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. So mind-body communication. Changed my life. Short story, when I started doing this stuff, I was really good at sales when I was young. I was working some companies, managing people, doing sales. I got moved up, became the sales trainer, and then, the manager, and then started building call center stuff. So I was very much in like a salesy, Wolf of Wall Street, going out making money.
Boiler room.
Yeah, totally. The boiler room, totally.
Yeah.
And I would go to places and work, and they'd have incredible results, and I'd leave and it'd just dip. Go back and dip, and I was like, okay, this isn't working. Like, I can't have myself leave and it's not there. Something's not sticking. So I literally went online and looked up, how do I duplicate myself? I swear, it's so funny. And NLP came up, and I was like, what is that? So I looked it up, and it was like, NLP's motto is modeling excellence. It says, if anybody did something, you can do it and do it better. I was like, okay, let me check that out. Yeah. So I went and learned the first day of doing it. I was there for sales training, but then 2 days in, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to become a coach. I realized the power of my mind. This is so totally different. So the thing about NLP is it's a methodology, right? What's so incredible is our minds, everything we do is about taking in information, how we perceive that information based on where we are and what it is, how we use it, and then what it creates as a result. And so good things you do, bad things you do can all be broken down into strategies or patterns. I work with somebody, they have something they want to change about themselves or something they want to build. We just start putting in puzzle pieces. It's like, oh, this is what you do right now. Why do you do step A, B, B? So it starts at the trigger. Like when you what was the first thing that happened? What did you say, see, hear, or feel to yourself that made you decide that decision? Oh, I saw this thing on TV. Okay, cool. What'd you do next? Oh, inside of my head, I had a picture of myself driving that car. Okay, and then what? Then I was like, then people were telling me I was really good, and then I had a good feeling. Okay, so that's your pattern, your strategy. So you can break things down and you can rebuild patterns or create them if they've never been there. So what's incredible about it is like it gives you, it's a scientific method that actually has step-by-step, tools and resources where I can show you the work we're doing. Like I do hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, all those other things are incredible, but I can't show you anything. There's nothing I can do. We just do it and you feel it. So you got to believe it and you got to experience it. With NLP, I can dissect your exact behavior and show you on a piece of paper. And you're like, oh, that is me. That's exactly what I'm doing. And then we can take things and move them and you're like, oh my God. So it's really powerful, not only for what it does, but it lets down the wall of disbelief. Yeah. It's like, I can see what you're doing right now. I agree with that. That's what I did. A, B, C, D. People use it as manipulation. It's less now, but I think the thing is, it's NLP is just kind of like what we're giving as a title, but it's really just, it's something we discovered. We didn't create it. It's already in us, right? Nobody created NLP. It's like just the title for how we do all these behaviors. But so people could be manipulative, but that's really just the confidence in your communication, your ability to see how somebody else operates and control that operation. You can do that in many different ways. So I don't really put it under a guise anymore of like, oh, if you learn NLP, it will do this. It's a faster, more organized tool to do that, that's for sure. But it's really powerful when you understand it. and you use it because it's, again, an objective tool that can give you a clear path, and it's fast. I can work with somebody in one day and change a behavior they've been dealing with for 10 years. Like, just done.
That's incredible. So for people that are watching that want to connect with you, learn more about you, maybe even experience that, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Great. Awesome. Well, if you Google me, you're going to find me anywhere. I would say easiest thing would be go to my website, brettbaughman.com, or you can check out my Instagram. It's bybrettbaughman.com or sorry, by Brett Bowman. Those are pretty good ways. I'm on LinkedIn as well. But any of those, I do have a lot of great free resources. So I tell people, sometimes it's hard to take that first step because you got to be in that right moment of like motivation or enough discomfort to have the courage. Don't do that for now. Just go every day and plant a seed. Go to my website. Go search my stuff online. I have articles I write for Forbes all the time. Things all over. There's so much free info I put out there that every single thing of something you find will give you some value and motivation. I promise you it'll give you a better day.
I love it. Brett, so awesome having you on the podcast. Hope you come back sometime soon.
I would love that.
It was phenomenal.
Thank you so
thanks
much.
for being here.
Appreciate it.